guys, John Davenport here from Photogrammetry.com with another Let's Edit video. This week we'll be looking at the photograph you see on the screen, and we'll be doing a black and white conversion. I just recently got the Essential Guide to Black and White Photography from Digital Photography School, and it's kind of gotten me inspired to create some black and white photos, and I thought this particular shot would make a good image. So let's take a look. We'll first kind of do a little bit in Lightroom, but I am going to jump over into Photoshop and show you how that particular piece of software can create something that Lightroom can't. So let's jump into let's just go right ahead and jump right into the black and white tab. We won't even mess with any basic edits here. So the way this works, and the reason that you don't want to just use this black and white image, or you don't want to just drop your saturation down, is because you have control over how the black and white image is processed by manipulating these different colors. Just because it's a black and white image doesn't mean there isn't color data in the file. So when I drop the blues down, because this image had a lot of blues in it, you can see all of this detail coming back into the image here. Same thing if I raise it up, you end up kind of clipping those blues out. Now, for me, I really like this kind of foggy, mystical image with the mountains kind of various forms of silhouetted here. But because Lightroom can't do layers, there's really no way to bring back the detail in the sky. Even if I go up to my graduated filter here and drop a grad filter in from the top and drop the exposure down, maybe drop the highlights down, you know, you can get a little bit of clouds back, but they look a little weird. They don't look quite right, but I think we can do a lot better in Photoshop. So what I'm going to do is reset this, and I'm going to go to Edit in Photoshop. And what this will do is it'll open this file up in Photoshop for me to use and edit as I please. Now, what I want to mention first is when you do edits in Photoshop, don't just come over to your adjustments and just add a black and white thing here, because this applies it to your layer. And you don't want to do that. You want to be able to change this if you need to. Because once you click OK, it kind of saves it to this layer, and then you can't really go back, especially after you've done some other manipulations to your photograph. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to come down to this button in the right hand corner. It's in the middle of that area there. And I'm going to add a new black and white layer mask. And what this does is it pops a layer mask in that allows me to convert to black and white. But because it's a new layer, I can always delete this layer. I can change it after the fact. I always have the ability to manipulate this layer and change things, which is really great. So always remember to use layer masks when working in Photoshop. It really saves a lot of time and hassle, and it allows you to always have your original photograph if you need to go back. So now what we're going to do is we're going to create a very similar effect as we had before by raising our cyan slider and our blue slider. Something like this. We can try and play around with our green slider, maybe somewhere around there. See the yellows, maybe drop those down just a little bit as well. I don't think the reds are going to affect anything, no. And the magentas, no, they're not going to affect anything. So this is pretty similar to where we were in Lightroom. But obviously we still have the issue with the sky. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to actually duplicate this layer mask here. So I'm going to create a copy of my black and white layer. And I'm going to grab my graduated gradient filter tool. You can either click here or you can press G to grab that tool. And then I have my foreground color set to black, and my gradient is set to foreground to transparent. So what that means is that anywhere I drag is going to apply black and then fade to transparent. And I'm going to be applying this to my mask, my layer mask here. And the way masking works in Photoshop, if you're not familiar with it, is that a the white color will basically apply the mask 100%. So anything that you're masking is applied. A black color will make that mask transparent. So when we apply this layer mask here, I'm going to apply it to my foreground, and when I do that, come maybe to about here, you can see it becomes transparent. So we'll go maybe like this, and then we may have to even things out in the end, but this looks like it'll be pretty good now. Now if I drop the blues, nothing happens yet unless I come back here where I can see that the blues actually do bring it back. But because this layer mask still has the full layer mask, we don't really see that. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to drop it in from, I need to make sure I grab the right layer mask, the bottom one here, and I'm going to drop it in from the top. And this will help basically bring in some of that detail there. I'm going to switch over by hitting X. I'm going to put white in my foreground, and that'll allow me to kind of come over here and just make sure I kind of clean up this little edge here, maybe clean up this little area as well. I'm actually going to undo a couple of those. So that's pretty good. I'm liking that we now have kind of a sky. We can go back to our masks themselves and we can play around with them a little more now. You know, none of these other ones really affect it. The blues probably have the biggest effect, something like this. And then we can go here, maybe play around with this a little more. So we can drop the blues down just a little bit on the foreground mask just to kind of bring in a little more contrast there. So I'm liking this quite a bit, but I think there's more we can do. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to add another mask here. Let's add a photo filter mask. So what this allows you to do is add different colors to your image. So depending on where you apply it, it basically applies top down. So if you apply it above your photograph, it's only going to apply it to the original image. If you apply it above everything, it'll apply to all your masks. If you apply it below a certain mask, it'll only apply to one of those masks. So as you can see here, we only have the bottom being affected. Here we have the whole photo being affected. Let's see what happens if we add a cooling filter. So I kind of like this one a little bit more than the other ones, but I am going to tone it down just a little bit so it's kind of a silvery blue. I don't want like a over-the-top blue, but a nice silvery blue will work for what I'm going for. And then we'll add one more adjustment here. Let's get our curves tool, and this one's kind of you know, it's a intimidating tool to use if you haven't used it before, and I'm still kind of learning it myself. You have all sorts of different things. So you have various presets here. You have the ability to, you know, change the different color regions, or you can change all of them, kind of a global adjustment, which is what we'll do today. I won't get into anything too fancy. But how this works, you have these little pull bars on the bottom here. So the one on the left affects your kind of darks and shadows. So I'm going to pull that in just a little bit. If you hold your Alt or Option key and pull this in, you'll start to notice that you get an overlay, and anything that appears black is beginning to be clipped. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to pull it just till that starts, and then maybe just pull it back just a little bit more, something like this. And then I'm going to do the same thing again with my highlights. I don't want to go too far, maybe right around there. And then you can add various curve points to this. So anything that's below this little, I don't know if you can see this here, I'll try and zoom in on the video, but if you can see this, there's kind of a line that goes through the center of this image from corner to corner, and that's kind of your baseline image. So anything below that line is darkened, and anything above that line is lighter than it was originally. We'll do something like this. So I'm kind of liking this. I'm kind of liking adding a little bit more darkness here in kind of just above the shadows area, and then maybe just a little bit less as we go towards the midtones, and then kind of bringing in a little bit more brightness here at the very end. So something like this works for me. And then I'm just going to do a quick crop, maybe something like a 16:9. And then if you just hit exit and click save, it will actually pump this photograph back into Lightroom, where you can do more edits with it as you please. So if you wanted, say you wanted to add a little more blue or add a little warmth, you could do that. You can still add contrast. You could drop your whites. You can do basically any of your edits that you want, but you do want to know that it's now actually a TIFF file, not a RAW file, so you don't have as much customization. It's still a pretty nice file size, so you still have a lot of detail and data, but you don't have all that information that you did before. So we've come quite a ways from our original image to our final image. So here's our original before image and our final image. I think it's kind of amazing how much I've learned with this ebook in just a very short amount of time and one really quick read through. I highly recommend it. There'll be a link in the description below if you're interested in checking it out for yourself. And again, thank you for watching. Have a great day. Bye for now.